Okay, so here we are in our fourth video of this series. We're going to start showing you guys how to make the positive and negative molds for your skateboard. This is going to be derived from your uncut skateboard. So this is my finished uncut skateboard. It's the only difference between this one, which we've been working on in the videos, and this one is that I have changed the color of it to look more of a wood color, and then I finished out the nose on it, which you're supposed to be doing in class. And you're doing that, you finish the nose on it the same way that you finished the tail on it, only you just got to make sure that you're using the variables for the nose as opposed to the tail, because you do want them to be independent of each other. So here's how we're going to actually start making the molds. There are different ways of making molds, especially for like injection molded or blow molded items. But because we're dealing with a flat piece of wood and it goes all the way through the cut of the mold, the easiest way to make this mold is to derive it from the uncut skateboard material that we have. And the way we'll do that is we're going to create another part. Okay, so we're going to create another element. All right. Sorry, where is it? Is it making it another one? Ah, there it is. Okay, so it just needed to refresh. So you only need to make one of them. And we're going to rename it. And we're going to say positive mold. Okay, and like I said, this is going to be our goal here, right? This is the positive mold is our goal. And really what we want to be able to make is something that we can put pressure on from the outside, and eventually we're going to go and we're going to figure out how to mill this part out of a stock of wood. And so to do that, we need to derive the mold from the skateboard part that we have. Okay, so the way we'll do that is we're going to import a part. And we're going to go up to the top of our screen here, and we're going to find where it says, there's a way to import, where is the, there it is right there. Okay, so we're going to say derive, okay? And we want to derive it from the uncut skateboard. So I've got all my parts that are listed in here, and we're going to derive it from our uncut skateboard, okay? So we're going to hit OK. And so now I can't really make changes to the parameters of the skateboard here, but what will happen is anything that I change in here, so if I change the final width of the board, I change the wheelbase, or I change the nose length, or any of the variables that we've developed throughout the project, if I change that here, it will automatically update our positive mold. And so here's how we're going to create our positive mold. We're going to do another work plane offset, and this is actually a fairly easy section to understand. So to create the positive mold, positive just means, we call it the positive mold because it's kind of sticking out from the wood. The negative mold is means that the mold is kind of going inwards into the wood, and so you can see from this side, this is going to be the negative, and then the positive goes into the negative, right? Like, so it's pressing into the negative. And we're going to assemble those a little bit later. But first we've got to start with our positive mold here. Okay, so now we're going to start a work plane offset. And we need to offset it from something that is on the other side of the board. So we've got our geometry in there. So I'm going to turn everything off except for the geometry that we want. So we've got that plane, the top plane right there. And so we're going to start a work plane offset. So you hit your work plane offset, right? And then we're going to start it from that plane there. And we're going to make it go, let's say 6 inches. Okay, so we want to go 6 inches above the part. And so now we've got some space in there, right? So some of you didn't started your part in different orientations from the plane. So you want to make sure that you have, 3 or 4 inches from the edge of your part here. And then now that we've got our work plane offset there, we can actually start a sketch on that work plane, okay? So we can start our sketch on that work plane, and that work plane is, or that sketch is, make sure it's on that work plane, okay? And so now that we're in that sketch, this is where it actually becomes a much easier part to work with. So check this out. All you have to do for this portion of it now is to copy the geometry that's already there. So all the work that you've put into the part so far is going to start paying off because that work is already there. Like you've already created the skateboard mold, you've already created everything. So all we have to do is select the geometry that we want to use. So we're going to select that guy right there, and it's going to start copying all our geometry onto our work plane as we go through and we select the different sections of our board. And so now when we look at it from this angle, we can see that our board just has, you know, these 5 sections in it. We've got our kick, we've got the transition, we've got the concave section in the middle, and we've got another transition, we've got the nose kick. Okay, so now we're actually done with that sketch, and we just need to extrude our new sketch. Okay, we're actually going to extrude it going in the other direction. So we're going to change that direction. And instead of saying bind or blind, we're going to say we're going to go up to next. And that way it will extrude until it hits something. It looks like it's thinking there. And so now that extrusion is going to match the curve that we have here. Okay. And so what this does is now when we change geometry of our skateboard, so let's say we wanted to change the concave section, and so I can go back to my uncut skateboard and I can say, okay, we want a concave drop that is 0.1. Okay, so I'm going to change my skateboard concave drop to 0.1. So now it's a much more shallow concave drop, and you can see that that concave drop is much more shallow. Okay, I go back to my mold, and it has changed my mold automatically to be the correct concave drop here. So now everything is linked together. So you're not going and adjusting the mold again after you've adjusted the skateboard. It's updating everything automatically. So now your work becomes significantly less when a customer comes to you and says, I want a board that does this. Well, now all you have to do is go in and change the parameters of your design, and then it's going to update your positive mold and then your negative mold as well. So you're going to go in and you've got to create the negative mold on your own. The negative mold is created in the same way. We just did a work plane offset, and instead of going up on that work plane offset, we went in the opposite direction so that we got the top of the board to be the top of our mold. So you have to do the work plane offset for the second mold, the negative mold, because I did the work plane offset and showed you how to do it for the first mold. So I showed you how to do it on this one. Now you have to do that same offset just on the other side of the board, and you're going to extrude in the other direction. So I'm excited about this part of it. This is where it kind of gets cool and everything starts actually getting linked together, and it gets a little bit easier because you're not having to do all the linking of the parameters and the variables. All your variables are already written. And so that's kind of exciting in that part, because now it's just a matter of work plane offset and deriving geometry from stuff that you've already put in. So enjoy, good luck.